Good morning, all. Welcome to the third day of STTP. And we are almost 5 minutes are left to start the session. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
It's midnight for you, but for us it's morning. I'm fine, sir.
Yeah, it's 1:30. Yeah.
Yes, yes, sir.
Mhm.
Good morning, Professor. How are you?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Oh, sorry, you came at last. Wow.
Just. I will leave in next 5 minutes.
Oh, you have to
Just
leave
actually.
or you just came?
No. Actually, I have an appointment, so I have to go.
Oh, you have to leave. Okay, no problem.
Just came to start the session.
Okay, that's good.
So I think we can start with the session.
Yeah, sure, sir. No problem.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Would you say something, sir? Or
You
should I
please
start? Or
start.
okay. Hello, good morning. Welcome you all to the third module of the workshop today. So as I told earlier that this is the continuum of whole research methodology course. And as part of this course, we have completed so far up to hypothesis. So today I will be talking about from hypothesis, then to I will finish full research methodology process, and then I will talk something about the publication process as well. So hope will be with me for rest of the time, rest of the seminar, rest of the workshop. So have a good time. So let's start. I want to share my screen with you.
So people are very much looking forward for the module 3 session. While we had taken feedback from them, many of them had written that
Oh,
our question was which among the given topics interests you the most. So that
mhm.
most of them answered was module 3. So I hope
Yeah, I
it will be a
understand.
very energetic session today.
I hope so. I hope so. But sometimes if I leave anything or I cannot touch, so let them know that they can ask any question that you want to,
Sure, sir.
because sometimes like it's sometimes impossible to like look for all the questions and all the nitty gritty of research methodologies, since it's a very big area.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's start with the. Okay, can you see my screen,
Yes, sir.
madam? Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So yeah, so today the name of the module is finalizing the research and publication. So I divided this section, the whole lecture into two parts. First one, I will finish up to conclusion or finalizing the report. And then I'll talk about that where you can publish your articles. And I will talk something about even like some project paper that you may not publish, but it will be helpful for your project as well. Yesterday I finished up to hypothesis. Today I'll be talking more about literature review and theoretical framework. Okay, so before going to literature review and theoretical framework, at first I want to uh, talk something about some issues or concepts which are relevant to research. Without knowing this, without knowing these topics, research, doing research or writing some paper would be somewhere different to you, or you may not actually grasp the original philosophy or idea of the research. So these are the things that you may need to consider when you write this write research paper or doing research, but not necessarily that you have to write anywhere any of these concepts, but for your understanding, for the way you have to go through, so you have to know this all these concepts, you have to keep in mind all these concepts. So let's start with the epistemology and ontology. So these two terms are used widely in the research arena. These two terms came from philosophy. So one is epistemology and another is ontology. So before going to research, just think about that you don't know anything about research methodology. So how do you define, how do you describe the society? You don't know anything. So there are two ways that we can do so. One is like the exact thing that it is, exactly what it is. We don't know the name of it, how it is made, anything. There is no interpretation from viewer's perspective. It is all already there. So this is all about like ontology, which is very natural. We do not give any name yet. We don't know the name, how it is made, nothing like that. It's totally natural. It is untouched. So we will see it as it is. We don't know anything, like a children, like how babies are actually judging the world. The same way we'll be judging the nature or natural things. But epistemology is something different. Like epistemology can be can vary from person to person, and that's why the whole theory, whole definition of one thing can be changed. Say, for example, if I can give an example about chair. A For a child, this child doesn't know about that what a chair is, what it is used for, how it is made, nothing like that. It is like kind of material that is sitting here, and they can move around or play with it. For ourselves, if we can consider this is actually a combination of some woods, some square shape, some smoothness and everything, then it makes it like a chair for reading. So you see that it is a chair. When I say a chair, I name it as chair. That involves many things. That involves woods, trees. That involves some people who made it. It involves reading or sitting somewhere. So you see that we define the one object from our own point of view in a different ways. It means many things now. But if you don't know anything about chair, what would you see? You would just say this is a material. So this is ontology and epistemology. Ontology is what it is in the nature, and epistemology how we describe it. So, and description varies from person to person, and that's why epistemology actually varies as well. And research methodology also varies according to the epistemological point of view. And that's why yesterday, one of my classes, I forgot that I told about like standpoint epistemology. This is why it is called standpoint epistemology. Looking through the eyes of the beholders. That means the people who are experiencing nature, how they interpret the society, how they interpret the world. We have to know their views, not our views. This is why you call epistemology. If we can understand through our eyes, this is our epistemology, but our epistemology may not be their epistemology. And that is why in research, especially intensive research or action research, we always encourage epistemology, to see through their eyes. Standpoint epistemology, to see through their eyes. So I may define chair as like made of trees, or it can be of pine trees, or some people made it, I can use it for my reading or something like that. But one person who doesn't know it, he may interpret it in different ways. He may say that, no, I made it to like hold or keep my pot over there or something like that. So you see that you define the chair from your own point of view for your reading purpose, but they didn't think about that it could be, yeah, it could be using for reading. They used it for different purposes. That's why we always consider standpoint epistemology, how people interpret their own world, how people interpret their lives. So if we can do so, then we can ensure maximum yeah, impartiality in the research. So in research, you know that partiality, impartiality is huge. I will be talking it later. And the second one is like phenomenology and grounded theory. So the phenomenologia, if you can consider these two terms, and phenomenology came from phenomenon plus logia. Logia means science, we know that. Phenomenon means some object or some views or anything, or yeah, object is better term. So phenomenology, that means that we how we see the world, how we see the phenomenon. It is very close to epistemology. So how we view the world, how we interpret the world, this is phenomenology. How is the phenomenon? So when we call the term phenomenon, that means this is our interpretation of something. And that's why phenomenology is related to epistemology, seeing through the eyes of the beholders. And grounded theory, before going to theory, I think that we need to have some form of glimpse of idea about like what grounded theory is. So sometimes we have learned that before going to the field, before going to data collection or doing the conducting the research, we need to have some sort of like theoretical framework, theoretical groundwork. But sometimes you may not find appropriate theory for that. So what we do at the time, or if we want to study a people or a group of people who are not usual, they are very special. So the existing theoretical works, theoretical frameworks cannot help you with this regard. So in this situation, we do without knowing anything, with blank mind. Don't have any theory. Someone asked me about this one, that if any unique research that you don't find any ground research, it's called literature review or theory. So in this situation, you have to use grounded theory. You will go straightly to the field, you will collect your data, and through their understanding, you will bring some ideas, and you will frame a model or a theory. This is called grounded theory. It is grounded on the onset, or the real field. And this is called grounded theory because that it is grounded, ingrained to the experience of the people. So it is also related to our epistemology, phenomenology, and ground theory. All are almost same. One is epistemology and phenomenology came from philosophy. Grounded theory came from social science. But they're all the concepts are the almost same terms or same concepts. And the last one is subjectivity and objective debate. It is a huge debate in social science. Subjectivity and objectivity. Subjectivity means when we interpret the result from our own point of view. That is called it is called value ladeness. Or every person is enriched or have some form of value towards something. So when we interpret something from our value, this is called subjectivity. And objectivity, that means that it is natural and this is very scientific. We do not, our personal biasness, our personal views will not impact on the result or the phenomenon what we want to study. So this is called objectivity, and that's why you may see in MCQ exam, in different exam, we call it objective question. That means there is no ground for partiality, ground for biasness, and that's why it is objective. But subjectivity is, there is a huge room for your biasness, partiality. Seemingly, it sounds like it is subjectivity should not be granted in research, but in reality, subjectivity sometimes are encouraged, or sometimes it is mandatory. Say, for example, in minority studies, feminist research methodology, you have to be subjective. Because if you are objective, you cannot understand their real scenario, their real feelings, because you will use only some for sorts of questionnaire like A, B, or C, D, something like that. But if it is subjective, you can be more sympathetic to them, considerate to them. You want to learn many things about them. You will write them, and you will take them into your reports. That would may have some policy implications, and that's why sometimes subjectivity is encouraged, especially in qualitative studies. In quantitative studies, we use objectivity. If in quantitative studies we use subjectivity, there will be a like big mess. As I told yesterday's class, that we cannot quantify any open-ended question. So we always have to be very close-ended or semi-structured or semi-structured ways. Otherwise, we cannot put them values, we cannot tabulate them. So this is the issues with subjectivity and objectivity debate. So you now understand the epistemology, ontology, phenomenology, grounded theory, subjectivity, and objectivity. So these are the things that we always have to keep in mind. This is the, I would say that prior philosophy or prior insight that you need to have before going to field. Okay. Then induction and deduction. This is related with qualitative and quantitative research. So two ways, we all people come into conclusion two ways, knowingly, unknowingly. One is induction. Induction means that we go from small to high, small to big. So examining 1, 2, 3%, and then we'll go to we'll generalize it for thousands of people. I saw 1% that, 2%, 3% was like that, 4% is like that, then whole people are like that. So this is called induction. So say for example, X is mortal, Y is mortal, Z is mortal, and that's how we can say that all people are mortal. So based on 1, 2, or 3 samples or observations, we generalize for whole people, whole population. This is called induction. And deduction is from it is called top-down policy. So from used a lot of examples to we'll concentrate into a particular 1 or 2 people. So this is called the deductive method. So in qualitative and quantitative method, you'll find this induction and deduction as well. So in qualitative studies, you will find induction. From 1, 2, 3, you will study a few case studies, 4, 5 case studies, and then we'll want to generalize it for the whole population of that particular category. But in deduction, on the other hand, in quantitative analysis, what we survey thousands of people, hundreds of people, thousands of people. So these are the lot of people are there, a lot of examples are there. Or if we use some theories, there are thousands of literature are there. So from that data, we just come down into a particular issue, and we want to generalize it for particular person, particular population. We studied thousands of population, but we generalize it or apply it for particular population. And this is called, that is why it is called deduction. So induction is used for qualitative studies, deduction is used for quantitative studies. And then reliability and validity. This is actually huge topic in research methodology, whether research is good, bad, everything is based on reliability and validity. So in a simple term, I can tell that what is reliability and validity. Reliability is somehow related to your, how should I say, like it is a methodology, how you set your methodology. If your methodology is not correct, it is not reliable. So in a simple term, reliability means consistency. That means I do the research now, the findings can be applicable to other settings if you want to apply it to other settings. Since you know about Edward Said, he was one of the biggest researchers in like 1980s and 90s. So Edward Said had a book, and in that book he told about like a theoretical tour. So theory always goes from one area to another area. So if this theory is not generalizable, if this theory cannot be applicable to other settings, that is the problem of reliability. That means it is not reliable. I cannot rely on this theory. Theory may be wrong, but in science you see that H2O always would be water. H2 always will do the two atom of hydrogen, one atom of oxygen. If you mix them, they will be water. Every time, always, everywhere, universal. But in real, in our humanities, social science, or even business background, you may not find these things. Reliability, you may not find that it is reliable all the time. But we have to be so much close to scientific methodology so that we can ensure at least a result or findings that is at least persistently true for different settings, different group of people, if some other underlying characteristics are the same. You have to keep in mind that for different reasons, there may have different results. But in general, if they apply the same theory or same methodology that you use in different settings, there should be the same result, or at least a very similar result. But the validity is the question of your theoretical foundation. If your theory is wrong, if your literature review is wrong, your research would be invalid. So validity, that means that whether your existing data, what should I say, like you are doing on research, say for example, you're doing your research, but your research doesn't go with the existing literature or existing theory. This is somehow it is challenging. Say for example, we all know that education makes men more enlightened, but you did a research, and that research says that education make people like superstitious. So you are giving a kind of negative theories, and it is called in Hegelian language the negation of negation. So you're doing something negation. So if it is negation, that means it challenges existing theory and literature review. So it is not valid. So to be valid, that's why the question of theoretical framework came. That means to make your theory research valid, we have to follow existing theory and literature review. Otherwise, it is a great chance that our theory may result invalid result. It may not be consistent with the existing literature review that we have. So this is the question of reliability and validity. Always keep in mind that you have to ensure scientific methodology to ensure reliability, and you have to ensure existing theory and literature. You can challenge it, no problem, but you have to study, and knowingly you have to do this. Knowingly you have to do this. This is the reasons that the previous or existing research found this thing, but in my settings I found because of that reason. It should be very specific, but within using the same variables, same sort of concepts, you produce different results, it is invalid. So this is the and that's why I am telling here in the literature review and theoretical framework section that please try to read as much as literature you can, because literature review will show you the path, show you the direction, which way you should go, what would be your variables, what should be your concepts, which measurement you should use. So there are a lot of things that you can learn from your existing literature review, or to find out the research gap. How do you find the research gap? If previous researcher have done this already, so you are doing the same thing. If you don't know or you don't study the literature, and you are doing the same research that already have been done, so there's no use of doing the research again. That's why you have to read the literature review, and you have to find the research gap. That means previous research and theories have focused these issues, but they left this issue. So in my research I will talk about this issue, or I want to seek out the probable causes of these reasons or something like that. Okay, then general principles regarding the use of theory in research. So there are few principles that how you can use this theory in research. Number one is like knowledge of the existing theory in one area of research is essential for conducting research. So so knowledge of existing, if you know that there is an existing theory in your area, if you want to do some research, on the basis of the existing concept, existing variable, you have to know where the theory came from. Say, for example, if I tell about, like, you want to know that like reward system or performance management system. So in management, in business background or the office management system, you know that people's motivation, that how employers are getting motivated, it is based on that what they need. And then you can talk that my theory, my research will specifically focus on Maslow's Maslow's theory of need. You know that Maslow's motivational theories. So Maslow's motivational theories, that the people actually look for the most basic needs or the most important needs they have, and after meeting the first need, then there will the second one. So your study somehow related to or the on the basis of Maslow's theory. So Maslow's theory is like a paradigm or the big theory. So under that big theory, you are writing it's like generation of research. So you are the last generation of this theory, but you have to acknowledge your forefather who first gave this theory. This is that is why you have to know the existing theory related to your study. Otherwise, you may be misled. And then concepts are crucial components of theory, and so their clear definitions are essential to the design of the study. So concepts are crucial concepts. So as I told, that conceptualization, that means a concept may have different meanings in different settings. In dictionary, it may have one meaning. In Wikipedia, they may have one meaning, but in your research, in your study, you have to figure out your concepts, and you have to define it in your own ways, that how you want to study this concept. Say, for example, if it is like education, say, for example, education is a concept, or it can be like poverty as a concept. So what is poverty? So in dictionary term, it might say that ability of gaining something. But ability of gaining something, this definition cannot help you anyway in your study, because it is not measurable. It is not measurable. Inability to getting anything, inability to getting, what is inability, what is getting, what is anything means everything. So that's why you should be very much specific. You have to conceptualize that, yes, this concept means that to me. Like it is, if it is poverty, I mean that who earns 100,000 rupees per year, I will call them as poor or something like that. This is an assumption. So this is why you have to be very specific. And then in your instrumentalization, you will break them down more. You will break them down more, like earning from 10,000 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 30, 39, something like that. So this way you will categorize, you will you will level them. So if you can level them, then it is instrumentalization. So in your study, in the questionnaire, you will ask the same question. What is your income? Then A, 10,000 to 19,000. B, 20,000 to 29,000. This is called instrumentalization. And then we set value for each of the level. For 10 to 19, I set value for 1, say, for example. If, next one would be 2, 3, 4, 5, like this way. And then when we write them, or when you input data into our Google Sheet or into our software package, in the data we actually input, we have to tell first. We have to tell, if it is like software package, then you have to write software language. So in software language, we'll tell, hey R, hey Stata, hey SPSS, hey Python, please know that when I write 1, that means it is 10,000 to 19,000 category, or 19,000 between 10,000 to 19,000, and its value is 1. So this way we'll tell in a statistical language or software language to the statistical software, and then they will interpret your data and give you a result. So when you say that most of the people, like 70% or 75% people say that their value is 3. So you know what 3 means. So you know that what 3 means, 30,000, 30,000, yes, 30,000 to 39,000. This is 3. So in your interpretation, you can write that way. That means that most of the most of the respondents of my study, they said that their income falls between 30 to 39,000. But in your statistics, you do not find 30 or 39 this term. You'll find only the values 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. So that's why conceptualization, instrumentalization, and setting value is important in quantitative studies. And then one should view theory as hypothetical proposition and not as conclusive fact. Okay, theory is also like a kind of hypothetical. It's not necessary that your theory has to be proved. Theory, I told that theory is big thing, yes, but it doesn't mean that theory should be always perfect. You can challenge theory, or sometimes theory can be false. False, even big theory can be false, or it can be with erroneous. So this is not the issue that it should be 100% right. It is actually an assumption, like hypothesis. But hypothesis is your guess. Theory is a scientific guess, because it's a scientific study that have done so far. But in your study, it may have different results, but that doesn't mean that it should be always perfect. It should be always right. And then one should pay attention to all odd and puzzling unexpected observation. This is almost the same thing. That means there may have some odd or puzzling things that that may confound you. You may not find the exact result that you are looking for. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about whatever you find. Just put them into your software and then get the result and interpret that way. If you think that this doesn't go with the theory, you can write into discussion. This is the reason that I think that may have reasons that is not consistent or relevant to the existing data or existing theory. So you can tell them. A good literature review does not just summarize sources. It analyzes, synthesizes, and critically evaluates to give a clear picture of state of knowledge on the subject. Okay, so I see sometimes that some people, especially some predatory journal or small open source journal, they actually write sometimes like, I found in this research, the research talked about this, but they missed something. In my research, I will talk about this. A literature review should not be like this. It is very layman study, layman review. It should be synthesize of your assumption, of your hypothesis, existing theory, and how it can modulate, or you can regulate your own research. It can be good, it can be positive or negative, it can helpful or it cannot be helpful either. So there are a lot of things that come between. So and that's why in literature review you should not only say that this is the findings of the previous research and they missed it and I will do that. This is a kind of, it is not literature review. We call it like only review. Only review. It is not scientific literature review. It is only review of a paper. If you read a paper and you write a review on that, this is that. But in your scientific literature review, it should be always consistent with few things: your own hypothesis, theory, and your future findings. So these are the three theories that three things that should be consistent with your literature review. Okay. Any serious question at the time? If it is serious, then I'll ask answer. Otherwise, I'll answer at last. Okay, yeah, I think I should answer this one. One asked about like, could you please give an example of a false theory? Yeah, theory is not false. I said that theory is theory, but you can falsify it. You can falsify this theory. Like I can give you an example. Like in 1973, there was a big research, and it is almost like 64,000 citations now. Only one single study, it has 64,000 citations. This is called nothing works theory. Nothing works theory, that means they said that the theoretical work we are doing, it doesn't have any impact on policy implications, on practical life. That means what we are doing in a scholarly endeavor, it doesn't have any impact on our real life scenarios. So that was a theory that was written in 1973. So there are thousands of papers have written so far on that theory, and most of the literatures, most of the articles, they actually challenged and they falsified that theory. And there's a big study also in California, Utah University, and another university, Nevada. So in 3 universities, they made a huge experiment on that, whether scientific articles or scholarly articles have any impact on real field. They found strong relationship between scientific articles and their empirical efficiency or efficacy. So that's why they found that yes, what previous theory asserts that scholarly article may not have impact or doesn't work in real field, it was actually false. So this can be an example. This way you can find your own fields many examples that existing theory may not be always correct. And that's why all after all theories, what we write, some criticize of the theory. Even the big theories like Karl Marx's theory, like big theories like Freudian theory, Darwinian's theory, like Spencer theory, they're the, like I would say, these are the paradigm that changed the whole world. But there's thousands of literature you'll find that challenge their existing theories. They falsified these theories. So that doesn't mean that their theory became useless, or that doesn't mean that you cannot do so because of their powerful theories. So theories are there. If you maintain scientific process, scientific methodology, then you can do so. My question is, or my proposition is, if you don't know the theory, how you refute it? If you want to refute it, you have to know the theory. Without knowing the theory or reading extensively in depth, you cannot criticize the theory. So this is the point here. Okay, then determining the sample design. Sample design. Now the question is, like, you cannot study all population. We cannot study all the population. Population, I told you what is population. Population doesn't mean people. Population in research, population can be everything. If you study industries are the population. If you study, say for example, some animals are your population. So you cannot study the whole population. Say for example, if you want to study like all the garment industries or some like watch industries in Switzerland. So yeah, so you cannot study all the watch industries in Switzerland. What you will do, you will pick up some. You'll pick up some. So you say, for example, if it is like 10,000, you will take like 100. So 100 is your sample. But how you got it, how you draw this sample out of huge population, that is a huge topic in research methodology, because that depicts, or that is related to the validity and reliability of your research. If you cannot choose this perfectly scientific way, then there is a chance that your findings will be full of biasness, and your findings may not be consistent with the existing literature. So a sample design is a defined plan determined before any data are actually collected for obtaining a sample from a given. Okay, the same thing I told. So unit of analysis, you have to select the unit of analysis. So those who are from social science background, they know what is micro, macro, and meso theory. So micro, meso, I think in business studies also there is micro, macro, and meso theories. So micro, we always think of the individual as a unit. That means we study individual, or the findings we will find will be applicable to individual, one unit. So this is called micro, and macro would be like the whole society, whole population, a big group. And meso would be in between, like it's a small group, community, or any class or something like that. So we have to set the unit of analysis. What should be our unit of analysis? Like if we consider, say for example, like how many students, what are the mental, I said mental yesterday as well, I will change it. So say for example, I want to see that income. Okay, income. So I want to see the income of how many people are in the higher income in that particular area. So you may be confounded that whether I study one person individually or the whole area as a whole. So now it seems very easy, but when you go into the real field, you will be really, really perplexed that whether I should study one person, one by one person by one person, one individual, or I will study the whole community as a whole. And it will be applied to whole community. This area is all higher class people are there. So that is, when I say that all higher class people are there, that is meso theory. That will be meso, because it is not that full or not that small. It is in between, it is meso. But if we select that we want to know one person to one by one person by one person and person, that is our unit of analysis is individualistic. So we want to study person by person. So before going to the field, you have to finalize what would be your unit of analysis, what you want to study. Sometimes we mix up. Sometimes we study like both unit, both individual and macro and meso level, or micro and macro, or all of three, because we want to have a clear picture of the whole scenario. Sometimes individualistic research may not give you the full idea of the whole concept or the whole variable that we want to look for. So that's why unit of analysis you have to set before you go to the field. Otherwise, you will be always perplexed. So a population, I told it, sample, I told it, okay. And now this is the big question. I mean, many statistical book did not or doesn't include this sort of strategy, that how you can draw sample, how you can draw sample. If the population is 10,000, that means you will generalize your result to 10,000 population. You will generalize your findings to 100,000 population. How many your sample size would be? How big or how small your sample size would be? If your population is 100,000 and you study only 20 people, is it representative? Will it be representative? Most probably not, because 20 people cannot predict the situation of rest of the 99,998 person. So that's why we cannot draw sample out of the whole population in a very simple way. And at the same time, I cannot study all the 100,000 people. So there's something in between. How do we measure it? One very common issue is, or journalistic view is, it should be like 10 to 15%. 10 to 15% if it is the quantitative analysis. And if it is qualitative, whatever the population, you don't have to care. You can do up to 15, 1 to 15. Like if it is case study, if it is like KPP, if it is like what is called focus group discussion, whatever it is. If it is qualitative study, it should be always 1 to 15 or not more than 20. But for quantitative study, it should be 10 to 15%. This is standard. But in research, there is a specific formula for that. We call it weighted average. In some research, we may find that one out of 10,000, if you draw only 50, that can be their weighted value can be high. That means it is highly representative. But at the same time, you may say other that you studied 150 or 200, but still this weighted value is less than the previous one. It is not representative. So that's why in our sample designing level, we have to measure the weighted values of the samples. You can do it in the hypothesis when you set your hypothesis in confidence level. In the confidence level, you can do another thing that is called your this one what I called. So you can do this thing, that how weighted values can indicate whether your sample size is predictable or it is perfect to represent or to generalize for the whole population or not. So bigger your weighted value is, better the number would be or the representation would be. So if you have any question, that I will answer question later, but I will go the next one. So sampling methods. So there are a number of methods that we have available in our hand. So now one is like probability sampling and no non-probability sampling. We know about probability and non-probability. So they have both positive and negative sides. One is like probability sampling. Probability, that means every single unit of the whole population are equally there are equal chance that they will be included into your sample. This is called probability sampling. This is probable. You don't know which one will come. And another one is non-probability sampling. Non-probability sampling means that you know that there is no probability issue here. It is very confirmed that these people will be included into our study, into our research. So this is probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So the good side of probability sampling is uh, it would be bias impartial. It would be without any biasness, value free, because you don't know that who will be your sample. So if you don't know your sample, you cannot be biased toward that. So their understanding, their representation would be reliable, and that can be generalized in a big group of people, and it would be you can say that it is fully value free. But in some situations, if you use probability sampling, that will not that may not reflect the actual scenario, actual condition of that particular group of people. Say I can give an example of if you want to study like how many foreign students are there in India or Indonesia or some other countries. So if you just want to study this and you use probability sampling, so you want to draw these samples out of this population. So you see that out of, like, if your sample says even 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, there's single chance that one foreign students may be included. So this is the problem with the probability sampling. Therefore, when you want to study any particular group of people, their chances very low to be included into your sample. There, in that situation, non-probability sampling is much better than probability sampling. And now now we'll talk about like probability sampling. One is like a simple random sampling. The simple random is very simple. We'll pick up whatever we want. And systematic sampling. Systematic sampling is more organized and systematic than simple random sampling. So it can be like I can give you an instance of that. Like, so in a company, like in alphabetic ladder, like the last name, first letter of the last name. So you set their name in a chronological order. So for the first 10 numbers, you randomly can select. So a starting point number is like, it can be like 6. Say for example, from the first 10, you select number 6. Then you'll see that I will select only 6 in every 10 digit. So when you write the name chronologically with the letter, chronological letter, the first letter of the last name, and make it a chronology like 1 to hundreds or thousands, and you said that I will pick up only 6, I will pick up only 4. So I will pick up only 4 of this whole digit. So you will pick up who is in 4, who will be in 14, who will be in 24, who will be in 34, who will be in 44, something like that. So this way it is called like systematic sampling. So it is better than and better than non-probability sampling, but it is somewhere can be probable, and somewhere can be non-probable. But most of the time it is probability sampling, because you don't know whose name will come first, and you don't know that which number you will select. In that situation, what we do, especially if you want to do, we always select any random number by lottery, rather than saying by yourself that 4, I'll pick 4 or 5 or something. No, it is better that you select a number randomly, and then based on that random number, we look for these numbers, the whole digits. And then stratified sampling. So stratified sampling is also almost like that, but in stratified sampling, what we say, we separate different groups of people differently. So if you like, another example I can give you, like for you want to study gender, you want to study like students. If you do not divide this group of people, there is a chance that almost all of the sample will come from one group of people. So you cannot study some other groups of people. And that's why in stratified sample, what we do, we always separate different groups, and then we pick up from each of the groups. And then it is then it would be also randomized, but it can represent all of the groups together. So it is better than the previous two. Okay, then cluster sampling. So cluster sampling is used especially in like health studies, or if you want to know the nutritional status of any area, or it's especially done by government, and it takes huge time and effort. So cluster sampling is something like that. It can be clustered by a village. It can be clustered by a group. Like some people, you know, that some people live in certain area. Say it is like in European people who are living in say India. So they have their colony. So you know that all these European people, they are living in that colony. So if you select people from that area, this is cluster sampling, because the people are clustered there. People are living there together. So this way you can select different cluster. Government use it because like in government has to know that where most of the people who are poor are living, most of the higher class people are living. So this way it is more of cluster of different classes of people. And then non-probability sampling. So non-probability sampling, that you know that you will draw the sample by yourself. So one is convenience sampling. Convenience sampling means whatever is beside you. So if you know someone, you can go to that person or the respondent, you will get data from there. Voluntary response sampling, that some people may voluntarily include it into the sample. So voluntarily, that you can say that I will conduct a study. So whoever want to participate voluntarily, you can participate, or you can be one of the respondents. So this is called voluntary response sampling. This is sometimes somewhat biased as well. Purposive sampling. This is mostly widely used, purposive sampling in most of the cases. Purposive sampling, there's uh, uh, the researcher can select people, but that person or that respondent has to be eligible to be included. This is the question. That has to be as eligible for the questionnaire. Say if you want to study that how many unemployed people are there, how many graduate people are unemployed. So if you are a researcher, you want to draw your sample, you need only people who are graduate. If they are not graduate, there is no use of studying. Therefore, the researcher, when they will go for getting samples, they will always look for all the graduate students who have graduated and do not have any job. So this is called purposive sampling. Purpose sampling is non-probability, but at the same time that have some form of like randomization, that may have some that may not have some control over researcher. So that's why it is better than other sampling process in non-probability sampling. And snowball sampling is sometimes like, you know, in snowball, in if you consider like in a mountain. So in a mountain, if you just uh, uh, push one small iceberg or snowball, it will come down and it will amass some other snows, and it will be a huge ball when you fall down. So this way sampling can also go on. Like one person, he will or they will bring another person. That person would say that I participate in that study, you can also participate. So one by one, or two will bring two more. So this way the respondents would be huge at last. So that's why it is called snowball sampling. Sometimes it is important, necessary, snowball sampling, because the snowball sampling may give you the access to many respondents, what you could not do without snowball sampling. You may not know these people. I can give you an my own experience, own example. Like, as you might know, most of you know that I am involved with a US government funded project. Actually, this is my project. I submitted assignment into the class that has become now one of the biggest projects in e-cigarette and vaping. So in our studies, what we do, we do not know that what are the people who vape. So how could we draw the respondents for our study? We use that form of sampling. It's form of snowball sampling, but we did not call it snowball sampling. We named it in different ways. We call it respondent driven sampling. Respondent driven sampling means one respondent, they will be the respondent for one questionnaire, and then they will suggest another and get some money. So another person will refer some other person, like MLM business. So one person will get to another. This is one kind of snowball sampling, but in a more sophisticated way, we call it like respondent driven sampling rather than snowball sampling. So at last, you can also find like some sample bias as well. So in non-probability sampling, there is a sample bias. There is a biasness that you can hire. We can get this ideas or the questionnaire from people who you know, or you know that they can
Mehboob
give
sir,
you. Yes, sir.
sorry to interrupt you. Can these annotation be removed? I mean, the screen shows so much of lines.
Yeah, I don't know actually why it happens. I cannot do it. Someone did it.
No, everything is blocked here, sir.
Oh, really? I don't
Yeah.
know that. What is going on? Yeah.
Is it visible on your screen, sir?
Yeah, it's visible on my screen, but there are some draws over there. There are
Yeah,
some
yeah,
lines,
some
red
lines
line.
are there. Yes, sir. So I really
Mhm.
don't know how to remove this.
I don't know that. Okay, I'll go
Okay,
to the next slide. So let's see
okay.
what happens. Oh
Yes, sir.
no, still is there.
How can this be removed?
Mm-hmm.
We
But it's
need to,
not in my hand. I don't know.
it's telling you need to
I
stop.
saw that someone was drawing. I saw that someone was drawing.
Okay.
Okay, okay. Can you see the screen now?
It's like they say stop share and start it again. So this will go, I guess.
Okay, let me start it again. Yeah, yeah. You're right, I think. Let me try again. Can you please enable me again to share my
Yes,
screen?
yes, yes, sure, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. Thank you.
Sorry for the interruption, sir.
No problem. Thank you, Professor Gitika.
Thank
Okay,
you, sir.
so now, so sample bias. So we always have to be very careful about sample biasness. We should not draw sample from our own objective. That means we want some findings, that our findings should be like this, and we draw our sample that way that they would respond what would result in the same way that I want to get in. So this would be a real problem, and it will at last it will actually it may make your research invalid or unreliable. So you should always take care of that. Okay, then collecting data. So there are other ways of collecting data. It can be observational method. It can be direct personal interview method, telephone interview, questionnaire method, schedule method. They are all actually for quantitative data collection, but for qualitative, there are some other process. I will talk it later. So for quantitative data collection, our main objective is to see whether there are any relationship between the variables, dependent variables and independent variables, or in general we can say whether our hypothesis is accepted or rejected. We are doing the whole research to prove that. Our hypothesis, either our hypothesis is rejected or accepted. That's why quantitative analysis will, especially based on objective question, that is questionnaire. There are some specific question, structured question, or at best semi-structured question, and you after analyzing the data, you want to show that whether your variables are associated with each other, whether they have any our hypothesis is rejected or accepted or something like that. So all this quantitative research study, quantitative data should be like that way, keeping that in mind, that we actually want to see the association of the variables and to know our hypothesis whether they are accepted or rejected. But in qualitative research, they are something different than quantitative analysis. We want to know, have a bigger idea about certain things. It is not about only particular variables. It is not about particular hypothesis. There is no hypothesis as such. So what we want to know? We want to know a detailed insights or descriptive analysis of particular situation. So the nature of data collection would be different than quantitative data analysis, because in quantitative data analysis, since it is you are using deductive method, that means you need huge data, and from that data we'll be deducting your result into small unit. But for qualitative, you will study only few, and it's can be like inductive, and then will go up and up, and then you will generate for huge people. So that's why we want to know few people, but in depth, extensively. And therefore, the studies should be based on very close, very extensive, very intensive to the respondents. Like questionnaire, you will just go there, you male or female, male. Your higher education is like 12 class, okay, it's 3. So this way you can do this. But in quality research, so you want to know the detailed insights of any particular condition, particular concept. So you have to have a lot of understanding about the respondents. You have to write a lot. Sometimes you have to put some notes that is not even included into your research question. I can give an example of a big research projects, that is Maria Gottschalk. She's a big feminist researcher, Maria Gottschalk. She had a research of 10 years in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania. So in that project, she studied. It is a longitudinal study. So in that longitudinal study, she found some women in jail. So in that jail, she gave them different cameras to capture their own images different times and different ways. So in that particular case, she wrote many things. She wrote many things that is not even included into the research paper. And then she wrote a paper book on that. You can find the book as well. It is called Offending Women. So in this book, she detailed the how qualitative data should be and what are the necessary information then you could include. Because in the last discussion session, you can write a lot about the whole process, since it is induction. So you have to tell a lot so that it could be generalizable for all of the cases, all of the population. And that's why qualitative research gather data, gather information as much as possible. And if you have several aims together, you want to know at the same time the number of people, or the how many people are in this population, their nature and everything. And at the same time, you want to know the whole picture of that. You can mix them together, and this is called triangulation, both quantitative and qualitative, and you use both of them into real field, and this is called triangulation method. This is very popular now, triangulation method. Okay, then where am I? Okay, so I will show you an example of different data collection method and where they are used and how we can collect data using that particular method. So say for example, first one is experiment. So when we use experiment to test a causal relationship, you know what causal relationship means. Causal relationship means A lead to B. This is called causal relationship. So experiment we always do to see the causal relationship between A to B, A to B. Say if we can consider like COVID vaccine, there we want to see the causal relationship between vaccine and coronavirus. Whether COVID vaccine has an impact on coronavirus, we want to see it. So that's why it is called, I can show you, I took a board for you today. So say for example, this is A and that B. So be careful about like cause and association, cause and association. So A related to B, but we don't know whether it causes it or it is just an association. COVID vaccine may impact or reduce the chance of coronavirus. So if you find through your experiment, yes, all the time whenever I do the research, the same results come. That means A lead to B. So that is, it is called causal relationship. But in some sense, you will find that it shows some impact over there, but in repeated study, in different experiments, in repeated study, you find some like inconsistent result. It may not be the cause all the time. And then you can call this is not causal relationship. It is rather an association. It is an association. So, sometimes we may feel like you might know the name of Vilfredo Pareto. Vilfredo Pareto, the teacher of Mussolini of Italy during 1945. He gave a big knowledge to the world, and this is called this causal relationship theory. He told that once we call that, please God, whenever it is like a desert situation, so please God give us some rain. So we pray, and it rains. So it shows, it seems like causal relationship. We pray and that it rains. So it is causal relationship, seemingly. But in your experiment, repeatedly, like in control group and experimental group, in control group, we say some people to pray that please God give us some rain. Like say 50 people are here, 50 people are here. So 50 people says there is rain. 50% say there is no rain. So you cannot tell that this is actually causal relationship. This is more of like association, false association. So that's why we call, we have to always keep in mind that in experimental studies, we always look for causal relationship, not association. If it is only association, COVID vaccine may be useful or not. If it is only the association, it can cure or it cannot. But if it is causal, it always will cure coronavirus, and that's why in experiment we use it. So how to collect data, manipulate variables, and measure their effects on others. So we always manipulate variables. So we know that how to manipulate variables. One would be like dependent variables, like our coronavirus or our disease, and some independent variables. Independent variables may be of different ways. It can be like predicting variables. It can be experimental variables. So you can tell that this sort of variables when I control, and this group of people when we are experimenting, how they are related to each other. So this way you can measure their relationship. If it is constant over the period, over the repeated trials, then we can call it like it is the result is valid. And that's why you can see in medical experiment, they call it like randomized control trial, repeated control trial. That means only one trial is not sufficient. They do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and different respondents. With different respondents, different experimental group, different control groups, so that the result will be always consistent. And the inconsistency rate can be, but it is should be very slight. you know about like regression analysis, it should be very very slight. In the standard deviation it cannot be more than like zero point 0.1 or something, very close to zero point 0.01 or something. So it should be very close. Lesser the differentiation, better the answer. So in this experiment we want to see that relationship. In survey method we understand the general characteristics or opinions of a group of people. Like in a survey, in a country, you know that when we do our survey we want to know few information about huge people, like their age, their gender, their education level, their family. These are the demographic variables that we want to look for, but for thousands of or millions of people. Distribute a list of questions to a sample online, in person, or over the phone. So in many times you will see that some people go to house by house, and they ask the people and they fill up the form, and that's where they gather the data. So this is survey. Interview, focus group. Interview is always, it can be like in-depth interview, or it can be like through a telephone interview, or it can be focus group interview. So you know what focus group is. Interview is very close, one to one. But in focus group discussion, or in focus group, what we do, like there will be some people just behind the curtain, so that their identity, they will be anonymous to the researcher, and researcher will ask some question, and what the answers came from, or who answered the question, the researcher may not know. And that's why they can write them down anonymously, and people can openly share their experience and ideas. So this way it can be either one-to-one, it can be of group. It's different. So there are other sorts of interviews, KPP, KIP, you know that. And then observation. So observation is like to understand something in its natural setting. We will not disturb this thing, I told you in the last class. So we will go there and we will collect data from our own. We will not ask anything to them. Like for in a shop, if you see that how many people buy one brand of product. Say for example, it is like Pantene shampoo. So how many people buy shampoo each day from one shop? You can either ask the shopper that in a typical day how many Pantene shampoos are sold. So if you ask the question, this is interview. But without asking, if you just sit down there, you observe and you write whoever by one, you just tick 1, 2, 3. So you by observation you are getting this data. This is called observational data. And do not mix it up with ethnography. Ethnography or case study is different thing. In ethnography, you also go to the natural setting. We want to see that what is going on there, but not any particular product. Rather, their whole set of livelihood patterns, how they behave, what their belief settings is, how their culture is. So everything is in ethnography, because ethnography itself means, ethno means people, graphy means science. So people, science of people. So we will study the whole population as a whole, their culture, their livelihood pattern, their food, their beliefs, and everything. So this is called ethnography. So you then pick out, you then sort out what information you need. But at first you will write everything of that. So you might know the name of Margaret Mead, one lady who actually invented this form or methodology, ethnography. She did the same thing. She mixed with bamboo tribe. So there's a tribe named Bamboo. So in Bamboo tribe, she mixed with that. She got all this data from there, and she now picked up what she actually wanted to see. In discovery channels or different animal channels, you can find that some people, some Western people go somewhere, meet with some native people, and eat everything with their. It seemingly says that they are enjoying their lives, but not. They have purpose in mind. This is ethnography. They want to see the people from the real settings, what they eat, what their culture, mix with them, so that they may not feel that person alien. If they feel that this is not our person, they do not be open to them. So that's why ethnography means that you have to be close to that group, and you will be part of that group. So this is the difference between observation and ethnography. Archival research, that is archive, that is in the library or any form of like preservations. So in the many things can be preserved. It can be like music, it can be books, it can be documentaries. A lot of things can be archived. So if you study using these archival documents, this is called archival research. And secondary data collection. Secondary data collection, I would say nowadays people mostly rely on secondary data, because the first data are really uh, hazardous, tough to do. You have to go to the field. You need huge fund for that. You need manpower, time, lot of things, because the biggest ethnographic study or primary studies in the world you see now, uh, some of them, they have to mix that particular group of people for like 5 years, 10 years. You might know the name of like Van Schendel. He was like Norwich a scholar. He visited India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and some South Asian countries. He was there for 13 years to collect the data, for collecting the primary data. And that's why it is not that easy. It is not that easy. William Van Schendel. So it is not that easy. Secondary data collection, it is very easy because it is available. These data are available in different sources. It can be in website, it can be on the website, it can be on in the government some documents. It can be in the library. It can be different sources. There are a lot of secondary sources now. Some of them are free of cost. Some of them you have to pay for that, but you can use their data. So using secondary data and getting some findings, also a very easiest way to do some research. So that's why you can see that 95% of the research nowadays based on like secondary data collection. And it has also a strong point as well. It is not that it is only for easiness. It is another strong point is for survey data, especially if it is not possible for one person to do all these surveys to thousands of people. It is not possible. And you can, how many times you can ask one person? But in your like GSS study, GSS data, general social survey data, you will find that the indicators is almost 100. So you cannot ask 100 questions to one person. They will not answer you. And that's why it is sometimes good to select secondary data sources for your research. And there are some how you will go for secondary data sources, how you will look for your variables. There are few ways. Number one is relevant literature. So how you select the relevant literature? You can write the name of the variables or the concepts, main concepts. So if it is like job satisfaction, you will write job satisfaction, and you will find the number of studies on job satisfaction. Then you can pick whatever you want. Make a list of keywords, some keywords. Every journals nowadays, they want some keywords. After abstract, you have to write some keywords, 5, 6, not more than 6. So these keywords actually help you to search different sources. Which source can give you more data? So make a list of keywords is actually a good idea. Search for relevant sources, and relevant sources, that means if you are working on one particular variable, you have to look for exact source of that data where you can find it. Like if you are studying education, you are doing some educational research, you have to go to government educational ministry or all the organizations that are somehow related to education. If you are doing some research on education and you go to like ice cream factory, you will not find that, because you have to go to the exact or the perfect place to gather your data or get your sources. Use your keywords to begin searching for sources. Sometimes you can use your keywords. There are some useful links. I just wrote here some. Other than this, there are many other sources. So in these sources, if you go there, if you write only the keyword, in the left side you will find different age, different years, different forms, whether online or paper, like language, whether it is English, Portuguese, or whatever it is. So you can set the requirements, and you will write the keyword, and all the relevant literature or all the relevant articles will come out. So this way you can also search your data from there, and what data they are using in their articles. Your university library catalog may have Google Scholar. Google Scholar is open source data source, so everybody can use. JSTOR is also huge in only scholarly data. EBSCO, it's also good for economic research or business studies. You can also use it. Project Muse for humanities and social sciences. Medline for life sciences and biomedicine. EconLead for economics, and Inspect for physics, engineering, computer science. So whoever you are in the background, you can just write them down, and you can find it into your using these sources. And I will give you some links and sources today. So I will send it to Professor Yitika or to Dr. Atul Kumar, so that they can give you the links or the slides that I want to share with you. Okay, then we have done. We collected all the data. Now we come into processing the data, analyzing the data. How would we process the data? Data is like raw materials. So we cannot use raw materials directly. We have to process it. So if we process it by hand, say for example, if you want to do a mustard well, so you collected all the mustard, but without processing it, make a well, you cannot use it. So, and if you want to use it by hand manually, it will take time, lot of industry. And that's why what we do, like we use technology, we use machine, the same way we do for data analysis. We collect data as a raw materials, we put it into machine, it's software package, we put into machine, and they will provide us feedback or the analyze all the data. So this way we input all the data into software packages, and we command them, and they will produce or give us the output, the data, in the way that we actually wanted them to. So here there's a question that what are the software packages that you can use? So there are popular 4 packages are there. One is like SPSS, older one, but the new version is updated. Stata, another one is R, which is really a promising one. And the last one is like Python. So there are the 4 software packages have been used for data analysis. So it's better that at least you know 1 or 2. I know I 4, all 4, but I had to learn. It's not that I learn it purposefully. I had to learn it because of for different studies, they require different sorts of data analysis software. So that's why I had to study. But if I recommend one, I would recommend R. R is the best one. And if you know R, Stata would be really easy for you. Python is a bit tougher than R, but if you know R, you can also use Python if you just practice for a few days. But if you know R, Stata would be really, really easy. SPSS is a different package. SPSS doesn't use any software packages. There are some instructions there. There are icons are there. You just have to pick the icon. You have to click them, and they will produce data accordingly. Okay, so is there anything that I have to tell here? So after getting the data, after getting the analysis, so okay, let me tell a little bit more about that how we can process the data. At first, for all of four, what we have to do, we have to tabulate this thing, tabulate the things. Get all the data you have to input into Google Sheet, either Google Sheet or in the Excel. Excel is the much better without using other forms of softwares. So you have to input all this data into Excel sheet. This is called tabulation. So you have to tabulate all this information here. Respondent 1. So the respondent 1, and then in the right, on the right side, you will write all the questions and their answer, whether the question is 1 or 2, like you said value for that. If it is 1, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this. Okay. So this is the same for all packages. Now the question is like how you feed this data. So after tabulation, you have to feed the data to the software packages, and different software packages have their different forms of documents. So for example, for R and yes, for R you have to use like CSV file. You have to make a CSV file out of that. After inputting all the data tabulation, or after tabulation, you have to save it in a CSV file, because R can read only CSV file. So once you make this CSV file, you would export it in the R package, and R package will import all the information from this Google Sheet, and then you will command R some software languages, or what is called like statistical package languages. So if you put that, yeah, hey R, in the software packages, I want in the Excel sheet, what I put one, please read it. One means 10,000 to 19,000. You will tell your software package about this. Your computer Excel sheet doesn't know, but you will tell your package that when you find one, please read it as 10,000 to 19,000. And then they will produce data, and they will tell everything, that how many people, like if you want to make a graph, it is also easy. You can make a graph. You just write graph equal to something like a variable's name, a variable A plus variable B, or something like that. Then they will make a graph, and you will see that in the graph, in the x-axis and y-axis, in the x-axis they will put something exactly 10,000 to 9. They will not say something like 1, 2, or 3. They will exactly show you the number that you used in the questionnaire, not in the computer or the Excel sheet. This is the very good side of statistical package, because they make it more easier for you to use. But for Python and Stata, there are some other files. Some files use XLS, some files use like even straightly Excel file. So this way you can make different files, and you can export into different statistical packages. That's okay. But one thing I could say about, I don't know whether in your countries you use this one. This is called Qualtrics. It would make you more it will make your task more easier. How? You go to the field, you collect data, you write them down, and then you have to write it again to the Google Excel sheet or Google sheet. You have to tabulate them. You have to have some like some manual calculation, like standard deviation, mean value, median values, mood, no, number of things that you have to do. But if you use Qualtrics, Qualtrics is a kind of software that actually generate a questionnaire and send it to different respondents. So if you give Qualtrics some questionnaire and say that, hey Qualtrics, please send this questionnaire to like all these schools, all these colleges, they will automatically send emails to the different respondents. And respondents, when they respond from their computer, it will be automatically preserved into your computer. So this is called Qualtrics method. So Qualtrics software. So from this Qualtrics software, you don't have to tabulate. It will automatically tabulate it into your Qualtrics software. So what you have to do, you just have to import it through a language. That is a very short language that you can use easily. And then you can import it to your either Google Sheet or your Excel sheet. From Excel sheet, you will convert into any file, CSV file, Excel file, or any other files. And then you'll export into your statistical package. And then it will produce your data, and your data is ready for it now. That is it is now saleable. It is like manufactured. So when it is manufactured, now your term is you have to package it. If you consider it as a product, so it is raw materials was your data, then you processed it, it becomes a product, and you have to now make a packet for each of the data. So this packet is called like interpretation. How you interpret this data? How you interpret this data? Since you see that in a graph, you say for example in the from R packages, we see a graph. So in this graph, we see in the x-axis 10,000 to 19,000. There are like say your respondents were 1,000. Sample size was 1,000. So 280 people are in the 10,000 to 19,000 category. So in your x-axis, you will find this group, and they will goes up to like 280, below 300. Like if you categorize by 100 or 10 by 10, 10, 20, 30, or 100 to 200, 300, 400, like this. Whatever the way, it will goes up. So now your turn. You have to, it shows, it gives you the product, but you have to package it. You have to package it, you have to seal it, you have to write made in and everything, your expiry date, everything. This is the cause of this is the situation of doing interpretation. So you write interpretation like this way, that from this graph I have found that, or the graph reveals that, graph depicts that, whatever you tell. So that people, respondents 10,000 to 12,000 income group, respondents are 280. And you can also tell that what are their position in compared to other group of people. So this way you have to interpret your result. So this is some simple interpretation, but for advanced interpretation we have to do some more. Like what I call it is like univariate analysis. You just use only one variable, like say income. But when you want to see the relationship with others, we call it bivariate analysis. In bivariate analysis, we compare it with other variables. Since we have more than one variables, so we have to compare with other variables. Then it would be like bivariate analysis to see the relationship among these variables rather than only one. Like if income is we saw that income was 280. If income is 1, but in univariate analysis. But if it is like bivariate analysis, if you consider education with that, the result would not be the same. You will see that educated people with income, you will see that 10 to 19,000 people with education, they are very less. It would be like 50, 40 or below than that, because education would impact the result of the income. And that's why bivariate analysis will change the graph, change the table or scatter plot. Number of ways you can show your findings or interpretation. Okay, so till now, I think, yeah, I think I covered the most of the things. What else I can say? So, and the last, that's called multivariate analysis. This is very important, and regression analysis. So in the multivariate analysis or regression analysis, what we want to see is, just let me check the time. What time is it now? Can everybody write here? What time is it now? I always, can everybody
Sir, it's
write?
12:27 as per Indian Standard Time. So
Let me,
3 more minutes. Yeah, 3 more minutes.
oh, it's almost last. But I had to take like few more minutes, 10 minutes. Is
Yeah,
it okay?
yeah, yes, sir, please.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I'll not go to this discussion more. So I'll go straightly to the next slide. So if anybody wants to know more, please feel free to reach me through my email, through websites, or I don't know. I will give you my email. So if you want to, you can email me if you want to know something more. Okay, then I'll go for the testing the hypothesis. So hypothesis testing is the biggest part of the research, because through this your research it is a kind of examination for your research, whether it is passed or not. So in hypothesis testing, we'll see whether our hypothesis is established or not. If it is established, it is accepted. If it is not, then it is rejected. But if it is null hypothesis, we are happy that it is rejected. That means our alternative hypothesis, that is the positive one is accepted. But if it is negative, if you took positive hypothesis and it is negative here, that means your hypothesis is not established. And now your turn is to see whether it is consistent with the existing literature or existing theories or not. Then you can see. But it's a big part. Hypothesis testing is a big part. So we do hypothesis testing in different ways. Different tests are there now. Okay, then results, discussion, and conclusion. When you finish your interpretation, and hypothesis testing, then you write three things. One is results. Results is exactly what you have found. You will not write a single word out of your results, not a single word. You just write what you have found. The 75% people are like uneducated. Yes, they are uneducated. You cannot then you cannot tell that because of the socio-economic condition of India, people are uneducated. You cannot tell in the result section. Result section will only say that what you have found in the data or in your findings. And then discussion, you can now in the discussion section you will start from first background to like your conclusion. Everything will be there. What was your purpose, the background, what was the objective, hypothesis, your methodology, how did you frame this work, designing, everything will be there. And then you will write a one para or two paragraphs on the whole discussion of the results. Now you can tell something more. But when you tell something more about, say, I told that about like why 75% people are poor. So in results, you will say only 75% people. Now you could say that because of different socioeconomic reasons. You might say because of the environmental issues. Many things you can tell here, but still you have to use some references. You have to use references. You cannot say something out of your mind that yes, people are 75% people use because there are desert area there, there is no water there. No, even it is true, still you have to substantiate with proper references. Otherwise, it is not accepted into scientific research. And then a conclusion will give you some directions. Before conclusion, what you can do also, or even conclusion, you can include in conclusion as well the limitations of the study. This is sometimes some journals will require that you need write something about your limitations of the study, and future direction as well, that I could not do this because of that, or that when I went to the field, I found them interesting, but since it is not in the objective of my research, I did not cover it, but future researchers may cover it, future researcher may look it, something like that. And the last one is policy implication. What do you want to give the message to the policy implications, the recommendations that I found this. So if you I found this in my research. So if you want to imply it, apply it to the policy, my recommendation is that. So this is called recommendations. So in the conclusion form, you can write the recommendation as well. So at last, you will just finish saying your recommendations and the whole research in one or two sentences. Whole research in one or two sentences. But the tone should be ending tone. Keep in mind, it should be ending tone. In fine, we can tell, in fine, the researcher proposes that if it is happens, then this condition might be improved or something like that. It should be an ending tone. Okay. So these are the sources that I want to share with you. I told you. So these are the sources. So these are the database. If you just click them, you will find thousands of PhD or doctoral research. Thousands of millions of research are there. They are highly valued research are there. Doctoral research are there. You can see only first one, ProQuest, dissertation and thesis. If you just click there, you will find 2 million master's thesis there. If you just select here Dart Europe e-thesis portal, you just click here, you will find 106,000 doctoral thesis here. So how many research you need? So you will find almost all the research have done so far in the world in these sources. All the research theses, dissertations are here. So I will give it to the authorities so that they can share with you. Okay, so after finishing the report, or the at last when you are finished, you are finished and you want to write a report and you have to submit, there are few checklists you should check that would make your job easy. I also send them to the authority, or I can send it directly to you. So these are the checklists that would actually ensure whether you did it correctly or not. Is there anything missing there? First one is like, my title page includes all information required by my university. Okay, in title page, is there everything is ready there? I have included acknowledgement. Okay, my abstract, in the abstract, what you have to do in abstract. Abstract is actually the small version of the whole thesis, whole research. The first one is introduction, objective, methodology, your sampling drawing system, how you draw the sample, your data collection procedure, your findings, your discussion, and the findings or the findings at last. So there are the 6 or 7 things you have to compile in a very briefly in the abstract. So abstract in research projects you will find in executive summary as well. In report you will find executive summary. Say some people say abstract in dissertation and thesis. So, okay. I have created a table of contents to help the reader navigate my dissertation. Okay, whether you write the table of contents, because in the you may use different tables, different graphs, and other indexes. So whether you put the contents for there. In the context, you have to write the chapter by chapter, and also the all the tables, all the figures you used. You have to also write them into the content page. Okay, my introduction. Okay, your introduction, then your research question, then would be a literature review, then theoretical framework, then the methodology, then discussion. So in between there are some other things that I have told, like just listen to me, you just see the title page. The first one is title page, then it would be like acknowledgement page, then you should be like your you can write in some dissertation they want abstract first and then the table of contents, and sometimes table of contents would be first, then your abstract, then your introduction, then your objective, then your methodology, then would be literature review, then theoretical framework, then your sample size drawing, how you draw the sample, and then your data collection procedure, and then analyzing your data, then your interpretation of the data, then the findings, then the discussion, then the conclusions. So these are the things that you have to include into your thesis or dissertation or research project. Okay, then yeah, I think I read and the citation. Citation is citation. You have to follow one particular citation at a time. You should not mix up with other citation. If you use APA, American Psychological Association, the last version may be 7. So you have to use 7 throughout the thesis. You cannot mix up with other form of like Harvard style or Chicago style or some other styles. You cannot. Okay. And for that you can easily do it. Now it is Zotero. If you do not know, you can write the name. It is Zotero. We start with Z. Zotero. In Zotero, they are like, it is a template. If you write the name of the author, their publication date, name of the book, they will automatically give you proper citation for that particular style. If you write them, yes, I am giving you the information, please give me the citation with APA style 6, something like that. Okay, then there are some tips for you, very short tips. Do not rush submitting your article for publication. Keep in mind that in a research paper you have to read as many times as you can, because every time you will find some mistake. Every time you will find them, if I don't use this term, if I could use this term, that would sound better, something like that. So that's why try to read in different times of the day, not in one time. Because our mood, our brain works differently in different times, and that's why try to read in different times, and edit, correct, and try to revise it again and again, and select an appropriate publication outlet. Okay, publication outlet. If it is dissertation, then you have one particular way of outlet. If it is research project, there is another sort of. So you have to fix it up according to your need. So yeah, these are the. Read the aims and scope and author guidelines for of your target journal carefully. Okay, so when you excuse me, who is that person actually? Yeah, I cannot detect. Please don't write anything over the slides. Okay, so Yes, so you have to write the aims and scopes and the author guidelines. If you submit to a journal, all the journals have some manuscripts. So you have to write through these manuscripts. They would say that the guidelines, what you have to write, what are the things that you have to maintain, keep in mind, something like that. So you have to always go through the aims, scopes, authors, and they will also say what citation style they want, what their requirements are. Everything is there, so you have to go through very carefully and structure your thesis, dissertation, or article like that way. Make a good first impression with your title and abstract. Your title and abstract should be very catchy. It should be very catchy. It should not be like very generalized form. Now most of the research articles that I have seen so far, it is very common one, like dash and that and colon dash, a study of like this way. It's very mundane. So it should be like catchy. You can use some proverb. You can use some like any first line of song even. So different ways you can make your title make more catchy. And abstract also should be, the word of the abstract should write in a way that it is not that concise, it is not that expanded. It can properly reflect the whole thesis that you have made so far. Have a professional editing firm copy edit. So if you have any professional firm, you can do edit from there. But now there are lots of softwares are available. Especially they are like paid softwares. It's better that you use paid softwares. If it is not paid, use Grammarly. Grammarly is paid, and both paid and non-paid. But other than Grammarly, there are some other softwares. You can also use them. One is this WordCat. WordCat is really good, but I would suggest you to buy a paid version of Grammarly, because it will not only give you uh, access to edit your write-ups. Rather, they can also detect plagiarism. If any unknown plagiarism is there, you can also detect there. I will talk more tomorrow in tomorrow's class, that how can you do this. Okay, list of reference tables and figures, and I have submitted a cover letter with the manuscript. Okay, some journals actually want some cover letters. Even some project in project as well, they want some cover letter. Uh, in a short, it is also, you can mention a little bit about. It is another short form of abstract. It will be more shorter than abstract. In your cover letter, you will just say that this is my findings. I conducted research on that, and this is my findings. So I hope that that will help you in policy implications. Address reverse comments very carefully. So when you submit in a journal or in a project paper, wherever it is, or even in your thesis or dissertation, your supervisor will make some comments. Carefully read them. If you don't understand, you can get back to them. You can email them that what does it mean or what they want, and never think that you are correct or I found this in another journal. Every journal has their own views, own styles. So you cannot challenge one reviewer based on other journals, that you said that this is not, it is not right, it is wrong, but I found in another journals, another articles. No, you cannot ask like this, because this is their criteria. You have to maintain their criteria if you want to get your article published. So it is important that you follow their comments very carefully. Okay, then the topics published by the journals. So the audience, so where how you can select the journals. So you can select the journals. Thank you. So I select the journals in a way that there are a few criteria that you can set for selecting the journals. So for example, it can be of the topics, that what topics it covers. What topics it covers? Is it like it is like, if it is managerial, your concepts are managerial, so you have to look for the managerial journals. Some journals I see, I will talk about like predictorial journals, how you can select. So in some predictorial journals, I see that they covers everything: humanities, social science, business, science, everything is there. So these journals actually doesn't have any do not have any particular values, like that concentrate specifically on any particular area. And you can easily understand that editorial board is not sophisticated, because in one editorial board there will be there has to have some expert, since it is like 4 or 5 groups of areas, and within these areas there are many sub areas. So there needs to thousands of scholars need there, but they cannot do so. And that's why you need to select see the topics that is relevant to your topics, and select your journals like that way. Please Mahua. Okay, then audience. So you have to look the audience, who your audience would be. Is it scholar? Is it only the students? Is it like the policymakers? Is it the managers? You have to look the audience. So, and you have to select your journals on the basis of the audience you want to target, you want to reach to. So this is also important. The types of articles the journal publishes. So what type of journals you can look for, like 2 or 3 issues, and see that what types of journals articles they have published so far, and based on that analysis you can send your article. The journal's reputation, how reputed it is. So to judge the reputation of the journal, there is also a parameter for that. I will also send you the link for that. There is a like a parameter of journal, assessment of journal. If you put the name of the journals, their publication date, and some other information, this software will automatically tell you their value, how powerful it is, or what are their problems, and what are their index citations and everything that will tell in this software. I will give you the link. Okay, so this is the last slide here. Oh, there's a lot of here. Okay, the predatory journal. So the predatory journal is this exact opposite of like a proper journal. Predatory journal, there are some signs of predatory journals are, I tell here. So there are common things are, they are full of errors when they look what is called circulate for getting papers or abstracts. There will be some errors out there. Their managerial editorial board may not be that strong. It is not double blind peer review. It may be it may want some money from you. It may not have huge high impact. It is not highly indexed. Citation is not that good. And if you can see the index, like reviewing the last 2 years, you know that how index are measured. So if you see the last 2 years and their impact on their citation on the third year, then you can easily see their height index. And you don't have to do it manually. It is now everything is written there, and even in Wikipedia also find the index index citations, everything there. So through this way you can find predatory journals. And for your promotion, for your own radius, it is okay to have some sort of articles published in whatever journals they are. But I would recommend, if you have any long-term goal, if you want to do a postdoc, if you want to do some scholarly contribution, purely scholarly contribution, then you always should go to like pure journals, actual journals, especially from your field, that is attached to your field. And actual journals does not publish any paper that is not relevant to their field, even if it is very close. Say for example, if any paper in any journal's name is customer satisfaction, journal of customers, say like this. But if you send something like HR, the policy of HR, say these are very close, still they will reject your paper. At first, it's instantly they will reject your paper, because that doesn't go with this paper. This is one of the indicators of a good journals. Okay, then so these are the common issues of like why your journals can be your articles can be rejected. I think that many people will be interested of that. And in the last class I will show you one sample of a review of the big journal. Then you can understand that what is the reason of rejection of any big journals. Okay, so first one, it can be like manuscript does not fall within the journal's aim and scope. As I told, that if a journalist is on like managerial policy and you write something about like accountancy, they will instantly reject it. Second one is paper is under review on and another journals. Like you submit it into another journal, at the same time you submit it to other journal. So if you submit at the same time in two journals, you can they will reject one, or you can be rejected from both of the journals. Writing is incomprehensive. That means you write in a way that they cannot understand that what you wanted to mean. It is not clear. As I told all the time, that it should not be ambiguous. It should not be absurd. It should be always very, very clear. There should not be there should not be any secret over there. It should be clear. So in the title, this if they found in the title that it is very unclear, they make it more complex, then they will throw it out. Doesn't conform to the writing style of the journal. So every journal, I told you, every journal has their own style of writing. So you have to maintain this form of style. Even if it is like in Harvard journal, but you are submitting into a local journal, but local journal has their own manuscript, and you are following Harvard journal, no matter, they will reject it. So you have to maintain, or you have to follow their manuscripts, what they tell. Well, it's not what the international journals, big journals are telling. No. Okay, then research doesn't add value to the journal. So if they think that this research would not add value to the journal, that means there is no any specific or any big contribution. There is no any exceptional contribution. Then you can contribute to the scholarly arena of that particular field. Say. Uh, it has already been proved, or a number of studies have been done so far on this topic, but you are doing the same thing again. So there is no use of using this space in the journal. That may not have that power to the real field. Another thing is, like, every journal wants to have some citations. More the citations, better the journals are. So why they would use the same articles that have been published 100 times, and published is you'll publish your article again, and in future people will not cite you. That means their journals, this space is will be in vain. Will be will be of no use. So that's why they always think of the value of the articles, how powerful the article is to contribute in this particular field. Unclear hypothesis. If your hypotheses are unclear, I told you again and again that in variables, how to make the variables, how the relationship of variables, and how you should hypothesize it. So if your hypothesis is not perfectly match with your objective and research question, and you cannot find it in your hypothesis testing, they will reject it. 7 is lack of supporting evidence. Whenever you assert something, you will assert first. Whenever you assert something, you have to substantiate, you have to support it with proper evidence, proper reference. And that's why referencing is severely important in your research paper, on your dissertation, because you have to you cannot assert something that you don't know. Even if it is right, if it is correct, still you have to give some evidence, give some references, that from this book, from that journal, I found this. So I assert this. So this journal is in line with my assertion, something like that. Okay, then poor analysis. Your analysis is very poor. Your findings is good. Your data collection is good, but your analysis is really poor. As I told you, like you told, like univariate analysis, bivariate analysis, multivariate analysis. But if you are, most of the time I saw, especially this, students, they do only univariate analysis and bivariate analysis or correlation matrix up to this level. But you have to keep in mind that up to bivariate analysis, you are just judging two variables one by one. What about if the third variables comes in? What would be the situation then? You don't know. You just comparing two variables together. But in multivariate variables, you are comparing all these variables together, but in different models. Like A, like you have four variables, A, B, C, D. So in bivariate analysis, you will say relation between A and B. Another relation would be C and D. But in multivariate analysis, in different models, and first model, you'll say relation between A and B. If A is constant, what is the result of B and C? If B is constant, what is the result of C and D? This way, there are different models, and at last you will add one by one. You will add one by one. You'll be there will be A and B is there. You will add another one, but you will control one. you will add another one. There will be 4, but you will control the previous ones so that you can see the impact of others. So this way you can do the analysis perfectly, and which is which is crucial, phenomenal for big journals. So multivariate analysis, regression analysis, these are key to publishing in big journals or reputed journals. Wrong research methodology, like you are doing something about like poor performance of the school students, but you are doing something like a survey method, interview method. You are interviewing students with telephone. Does it make sense? So your methodology should be in line with the research. What are your unit of analysis? What are your sample? What are your samples? And what are your data collection method? And then they all have to be in line. They all have to be congruent. Otherwise, incongruent research will not be published anywhere, even if it is like predatory. Predatory will sometimes reject. Okay, then inconclusive result. And your conclusion, you want to find something, you want to recommend something, that this is my findings, I want to conclude this, I want to recommend this. But if it is not conclusive, sometimes it is like, sometimes it is still uncertain. The results are uncertain. It will not make any value and it will not be published. And then a violation of research ethics. Yes, this is tomorrow's class we'll be discussing about this, I along with a professor from University of Malaysia. So we'll be talking about the research ethics. So how research ethics works. So if anyway they think that research ethics are violated, they will instantly reject it. And sometimes in some reputed journals, what they will make you blacklisted. They will blacklist you, and you cannot submit in future anytime, even if you are doing great research. Ethics and violation of ethics are so important. In USA, if you want to do study, you have to always have a training on ethics. On ethics, we call it human survey ethics. So without this training, we cannot do any research in the USA. So I'll talk in detail in tomorrow's class. So I think this is all for today. So if any question, then I'll ask the question. Will you ask directly, or I just see the question and ask answer?
So there are not many questions today. I think there's one question: what is policy research?
Okay. Okay, let me see the chat box. Okay, I see. Oh, madam, should I stop
Yes.
sharing the screen and again? Yeah, the same.
Yes, sir.
Same. I saw someone did it. Maybe. No,
Unfortunately, I tried to remove those annotations, but it looks like after the session is over.
I could not do so.
Yeah.
No problem. So yeah, so I see this chat. So what should I say? Organization, please, sir. First theory I saw during project design, how to differentiate between sample design, sampling method, and sampling population. You don't have to differentiate. You don't have to differentiate in project design. Project design is one thing. Different project sampling method is one thing. Sample population is one thing. In sample design is a combination of all three. You have to select few things. Keep in mind. First one is who would be your population. Who would be your population? Your first. Second one would be your area. Which area you are going to? Is it in Delhi? Is it in Kolkata? Or is it in somewhere else? So you have to fix up your areas, and then you have to do your method. Which way you want to reach there? That means data collection method. So these are the three things that you have to include in your sample design. Sample design is the brand name or the name of the group as a whole. And Sarah, can you show using the formula how you decide the sample size when you do not know the population size? How to go about? Okay, so yeah, that is also a good question. That person asked about like how to draw sample size since they do not know the population. If they do not know the population, how do they do the sample? the thing is like you have to anyway know the population, because you have to generalize it. At last you have to generalize it. So you have to know the population. It can be through the literature review, it can be through your data, or somewhere in between. One thing you can do as well, one thing can you do in the weighted value. As I told, in the weighted value, when you put the number of samples, you can see that how much powerful your sample size is. If the weighted value is higher, then you can go with that, no problem. But sometimes you find that even your sample size is huge, your weighted values are less. So that means you have to include more sample size. So, but it is always necessary that you know your population. Otherwise, you cannot generalize this. And okay. Stop screen. Can you please display? Anything else? Interpret. Okay, sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I results in the session. Can you raise your hand? Thank you.
So can I help you finding out the questions?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a question. Very
Mhm.
interesting question. It is, sir, I am a newbie in the research world. So how can I start writing a research paper? Because right now I don't have knowledge of different statistical techniques. This is by Miss Sonam. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so you have to start from first. That means from selecting that I told for the last 3 days. That means selecting selecting the problems and deciding your variables, and your variables would be framed by the literature, existing literature. Then you select dependent and independent variables and go for the objective research question. Then select hypothesis, and then you will go for the methodology, which method you can draw your samples and everything, and go for data collection. So these are the process that you have to maintain. This is a kind of, I would say, is a kind of process that you go from point A to point Z. So in between there are a lot of things that you have to go through. So there are some templates or samples. What you can do, you just have to put your variables there, and I think 60% or 70% of your research would be done if you just follow one template. But the thing is, like data analysis. Data analysis is different. Data analysis, you cannot do it seeing others. So data analysis, for that you have to know any one statistical package if you want to do quantitative analysis. But for qualitative analysis, you don't have to use any statistical package. You can do it by yourself. You just have to write them down like your diary, and you can discuss, or you can combine all these case studies together and you can discuss.
Okay, sir.
Ma'am, the next one. Yes.
Yeah. So what is policy research?
Policy research, yeah, I told almost the policy research and the dissertation thesis, the basic tenets are all the same. Basic tenets are all the same, but there are some slight differences. Slight differences in a sense that since policy research, you want that your findings will be used in the policy implications. So that's why your research would be more of empirical, more of what we call it action research. That should be action research that have practical values. But in many research, especially from scholarly backgrounds, say teachers, professors, they most of the time they do research only for theoretical issues, for their own knowledge base, because they would teach it in the class. They will not use it in the practical field. So their research are mostly based on theoretical analysis, most of like scholarly or theoretical. But when you want to imply it or want to employ it in the real field, you have to be more empirical. You have to use real life data. You have to use action research. Action research, that means you will use it draw the data from the field, and you have to use it into the field, and your data would be somehow represented to the actual field, actual population of that particular area. So this is called action research. So action research can be turned into your policy research. And there are some slight difference between policy research and project research as well, I should maintain here. there are two more things that you have to include from doctoral research, doctoral dissertation or thesis to your project thesis or policy implication, policy research. There are few things you have to include. One can be like, in project you have to write your budget as well, in budget. So but in dissertation or thesis you don't write budget. So in the budget we measure budget as like a manpower hour. So manpower hour, it is not something like that hourly basis like that. So manpower hour is something like, in 1 hour how many people will work, what is the value of that particular work. On the basis of that manpower work, you will combine all this work together and you will set some value for that, some monetary value for that, and you can seek that money from your project directors or from the project authorities. And policy, if it is policy policy research, then you have to look for the policy. Already there are some existing policies that are there. So if you want to modify existing policies or challenge any more policies, you have to study these policies and you have to refer it back. Whenever you write these findings in the discussion session, you have to refer it back. That existing policy, say existing labor policy of 1978, in article 7 subsection 8, it says that subsection C, it says that every labor has the right to uh, take leave. So this is the policy. What you want, that this policy should be somehow changed, or it can be amended. So for that policy changes, you may want to do a research, but that research you have to refer it first, then you would go for why it is necessary for now to change the policy. Then you can substantiate your assertions by some research or respondents. Most of the managers, they might say that for this policy particular section, most of the employees, every time you say, some of the employees are not in the office, they are absent, because they take the benefit of that particular section. So, and that's why most of the managers think that if we can somehow delete or amend this policy, then they can ensure better productivity in the organization. So this way, in the policy discussion, you can refer to existing policy, and you can propose some alternative policies, substantiating with your own references, or even other literatures as well.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So there is one
Yeah.
another question. It says,
Okay.
it is said that one should not publish paper in predatory journal. Is it true, and why?
Yes, yes. I told you by this time, because in the predatory journal, when you send predatory journals, there are few features of predatory journals. They themselves know that they are not not good. Sometimes they will hide their identity as well, and the name in the editorial board they are using, they are actually fake. Sometimes the professors, they are using the name, the professor even don't know that their name are being used in the journals. So the second thing is like, whenever you want to submit it into any scholarly area, so scholarly group, they will not take it as they will not count it as a scholarly endeavors or scholarly articles, because whenever they see that there is some huge mistake, even if you sometimes the base scholars then they can easily understand whether it is a good or bad article, seeing only the name, title, and the abstract, because it doesn't go the title. Your problems are this, but you are using that methodology. How come? Your problem is this, your hypothesis is that, a hypothesis is like that, but your hypothesis doesn't mean anything. It is not a hypothesis, rather it is a question, a general question. But research question or research hypothesis should not be like this. So there are a lot of inconsistency you will find in the predatory journals. Another thing is, you will not learn anything in predatory journals. Whatever you submit, they will they, for your eye wash, they may say that change this word. The word doesn't make sense. The word is not all. They cannot teach you. But the reputed journals, even if it is not published, you can learn many things from them. They will you will be surprised to see that how they review. Their reviews, the whole page will be like blood, like blooded, flooded with blood. like they have the red pen. Every day they made some comments. So this way you can learn, and in future you can write a better writers, better articles, and you can publish in a reputed journals. So for your time, for the time being, you can use it for your own. But if you have any future goal to go long way, I would recommend not to use them. Even if you are not submitting to any big scholarly groups or any university or any other high groups, still they will be in the record. Your name and the articles will be in the record. Even if they find that once like in 10 years ago you did such kind of like journal articles in this predatory journals, you are still be in the question. So that's why please keep in mind, you don't have to do a lot of research, number of research. Rather, do some quality research, and citation matters on quality research as well. It is not based on like only the number of research, because only one research, my supervisor is one of the not one of the, he's the highest cited researchers in the world now from 2006. Like for the last 25 years he's the most cited researchers. His citation is more than 1 lakh, that means 100,000, and his publication is more than 1200 publications. So what he always says about like his one article, his citation is more than like almost 16,000. One article is 16,000 citations. Just think. So that's why I would say that if you can write a quality article, your citation will be enough to compensate all these articles that you could have written by this time.
Okay, sir. Sir, there's another question, but I think you have already answered while your session, but see if you can answer it again. Can you please suggest some softwares which can be used for assisting research like Mendeley Zotero?
Oh, can I suggest any link or something?
Some softwares. I think the question itself has the answer, because for assisting research, Mendeley and Zotero are the mostly widely used softwares. Yeah, so
Yes.
yeah, so the question is, can you suggest some softwares? So it's already mentioned. So
Well, yeah. Other than Zotero, I can suggest another software. This is BibGuru. You can write the name BIBGURU. BibGuru. It is also free and it is much better than Zotero.
Mendeley is also quite fine, sir.
Yeah, Mendeley is good, but BibGuru is like it uses like I think it's 700 million. It can catch up 700 million articles. So that's why
could you write in the chat box so that you know?
Yes, sure. I'm writing.
Yeah.
It just start. You have to write exactly the way that I am writing. Otherwise, they will not show. Start with. Bibguru.com. So B would be start with capital B, G with capital BibGuru, and website is bibgure.com. www. Okay, BibGuru. Okay, I think I'm right. So okay, someone can check and let me know whether. Oh, why it is private? Oh, you should write to public, right? Everyone. Okay, I'm writing it again.
So I think we have got it. www.bibguru.com.
I wrote it privately. Someone sent me a private message, maybe.
Okay.
That's why. Okay. Oh, it's a triple W. So somebody can check and let me know whether it works or not.
Yes, sir. We have had a very long and elaborate session today, and I really salute your enthusiasm as well as patience. Thank you so very much, sir. We have today with us Dr. Zafar Azim. Just a minute, I'll...
From Indonesia?
No, he is from India itself, Dr. D.Y. Patil College of Physiotherapy, Pune. He would like to propose vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yep. At the outset, I think it's one of those rare opportunities that as a participant, one gets to express their vote of thanks. So I thank the organizers headed by Professor Atul Kumar and his team, who has been handling all the sessions pretty well so far. And I think the least said, the more the better, as far as Professor Mehboob Bayan is concerned. Sir, your session has always been very interactive right from day one to today. And what we as participants have been able to gather over the past 3 days has been about orienting ourselves, refreshing ourselves, and at the same time getting a new vision towards taking research and our research practices into a new dimension all the way. I think one striking feature, and I would like to congratulate the organizers again for this, is that this particular session on professors' pedagogical practices has got a very good mix of experience, youth, and enthusiasm going together. So we have some senior people in the form of Dr. Professor Devaprasad Upadhyay, and we also have as young as people as Mr. Rohan Neron. I think so that brings in so much of youth and experience to this entire set of activity that we have. And so I thank once again the organizers and Professor Bhuyan for your patience, for your cooperation, and sharing all your immaculate sense of wisdom and judgment to make our research practices a lot better than what we aim to and strive for. Thank you so much once again for giving me this opportunity to give the vote of thanks today. And I hope that the upcoming sessions are going to be as fruitful and enthusiastic for everyone. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zafar. We have another participant, Miss Sonam. She's a research scholar from Gautam Buddha University. Ma'am, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you switch on your camera, please?
Ma'am, there is a connectivity problem. If
okay, no issues, no issues. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank to the DY Patil School for giving me an opportunity for proposing a vote of thanks. On behalf of DY PB School, I extend my most sincere thanks to the Professor Mehboob Bayan for his efforts toward enlightening us all. We all are fortunate enough, sir, for as we all got a chance to listen to you and enlightening all of us, our minds, and shown us a new path. And personally, I would like to appreciate your efforts, sir. You are so cool and calm, taking each and every query and answering it so well that we just want your session to be just going on and to gain new knowledge. Okay, you just like solving each and every query in a actually I don't have words so I can explain it that. But I just want to say thank you so much, sir. Being a research scholar, your all session are very valuable to all of us, and it would definitely helping us in our research career. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Sonam. Thank you, sir, for such a valuable and informative session. I must say, lot of topics and subtopics were there in this session, and it has taken a lot. We have extended a bit more from the time, but then I am very sure it was very informative, and we can have more such talks on this particular topics that we have covered today. But comprehensively, you have answered it all. In fact, I confess one problem of mine. Till date, I have always been confused between objective and subjective. Though I have read so many times, it has gone into my brain, but I always used to get confused. But the example which you gave in the beginning of the session, that objective, while we answer any question, when there is an objective question, then we don't have any room for our own thoughts. It's just there's no bias. So that particular example struck my brain, and I must admit I will not be confused anymore. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you so much. And there is a small announcement that tomorrow will be, apart from Professor Mehboob Bayan's session, we are having another session which we took it as a need of a time, and we have invited Professor Pasupaleti. So he'll be taking session tomorrow after Professor Bhuyan's session is over. It's on research publication ethics, research ethics, and publication integrity. So this is information for tomorrow, and day after tomorrow is the last session. So we'll be having valedictory session after Professor Bhuyan's session is over. So these are the two informations which I had to give you today, all the participants, and kindly please be submitting your assignments. It's a great impetus to us to provide and to assist you and to do a little more for you all, so that it's a learning experience for all of us together. So kindly keep submitting your assignments, and thank you so very much, and for your patience. We have extended much more than the time. So I think it's time to sign off. Thank you so much, all of us.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.